Strawberry crumble served slightly warm with a scoop of rhubarb buttermilk sherbet. Sherbet is similar to a sorbet, but sometimes a little milk, cream, or meringue is added. Adding a small amount of fresh buttermilk to the rhubarb helps to add a fresh sweet and sour tang. This is how to make strawberry crumble in 3 125 milliliter mason jars. Scale 250 grams of chopped strawberries into a mixing bowl and set the bowl aside. In another bowl, scale 50 grams of stone ground whole wheat einkorn flour or a good quality all-purpose flour with 50 grams of vanilla sugar and 40 grams of cold butter that has been cut into little pieces. Mix the flour and sugar into the butter by gently rubbing the mixture between your fingers for a few minutes. It helps to have all the ingredients very cold and to work quickly before the butter melts. A fork or pastry cutter will work too, but I prefer to use my fingers. Place a little bit of the crumble dough on the bottom of 3 125 milliliter mason jars. This will help absorb some of the extra juice from the strawberries and make the crumble easier to eat. Divide the chopped strawberries equally between the 3 jars and press them down slightly to make room for the crumble topping. Divide the crumble topping between the 3 jars and place the jars in a high-sided frying pan. The frying pan makes it easier to transport the jars to and from the oven and will catch the berry juice as it bubbles up over the edge of the jar. Bake the strawberry crumbles in a 350 Fahrenheit oven for 45 minutes. The crumbles are cooked when the juice bubbles up in the center of the crumble and the crumble dough is nicely browned. Transfer the boiling hot jars to a wire rack to cool. The crumbles taste best as they are cooling down or at room temperature, but will be good for a day or two stored with a lid. Strawberry and rhubarb are an excellent sweet and sour combination, and when served at the right temperature, the crumble pudding is savory, delicious, and fun to eat. To make rhubarb sherbet, chop up 300 grams of rhubarb and place the rhubarb in a saucepan with 250 milliliters of water and cook until soft, about 5 minutes. Transfer the rhubarb to a blender top and process until smooth. Never fill the blender to the top when you are blending hot liquids because hot liquids adds lots of steam and pressure to the blender top that wants to escape. As an added caution, I like to put a towel over top of the lid just in case the pressure builds up enough to spray out from underneath the lid. Strain through a fine mesh sieve into a glass measuring cup. The glass measuring cup helps to estimate volume. Since the rhubarb has not been sweetened, it is easier to guess the sweetness of a 400 milliliter vegetable puree than the sweetness of 300 grams of raw rhubarb. Start by adding 50 grams of liquid honey and adjust the sweetness to taste. I do not like an overly sweet sherbet, so 50 grams of a local clover honey is about right for me. Rhubarb is naturally sour, and that is why it is delicious, so trying to make the vegetable overly sweet will not improve the rhubarb flavor. Add 50 grams of fresh buttermilk and mix to combine. The buttermilk adds the zing and changes the texture from a potential sorbet into a much less sweet sherbet. Refrigerate until completely chilled. Do not pour a hot mixture into an ice cream machine because it will take a lot longer to freeze, causing ice crystals to form, which creates a gritty texture instead of a creamy smooth texture. It can also be hard on the machine too, creating more wear and tear that is not needed. Chill down the bowl of an ice cream machine, and when the bowl looks frosty, turn on the paddles and add the rhubarb. The sherbet is ready when it is thickened, increased in volume slightly, is coming away from the sides of the bowl, and is collecting on top of the paddles. Pack the sherbet into a 500 milliliter mason jar. Tightly fasten the lid so no air can get in, and place the jar in the freezer to harden.